What's up guys, my name's Ricky Riley, and today we're going to take a look at two very cool amps, the Boss Nextone Artist and the Boss Nextone Special, and try and decide whether or not it's worth it to spend that extra money for the flagship Nextone Special. So what I'm going to do is go through all the options and features on both of the amps, front and back, then we'll do some sound comparisons, and at the end I'll let you know whether I think it's worth the extra money to go all the way to the top and buy the Nextone Special. So enough with the dilly-dallying, okay? Let's get to it. All right, so let's start with the Boss Nextone Artist. This is an 80 watt amp, 77 technically. It's got one 12-inch speaker, an MDF cabinet, gray grill cloth, very stately looking if I do say so myself. But that's really all there is to talk about the front of the amp because all the controls are mounted on the top. So let's move to the top. So here's a look at the top panel of the Nextone Artist. We've got one set of controls for both channels, so about half as many knobs as the Nextone Special, but there actually still is one feature that you can access from the panel of the Artist that you can't access from the panel of the Special, but we'll talk more about that when we actually take a look at the Special. But over here on the left, we've got our input and our channel select button to switch between the clean channel and the lead channel. You could also use the optional foot switch. It's a GAFC foot switch, the same as a Katana. On our clean channel, we have a volume pot, a boost button, and a tone button. The boost could be a treble boost, it could be a clean boost, it could be an overdrive, whatever you want it to be, you just assign it in the editor. There's also a few options for what you want the tone switch to do, but both of them are either on or they're off. You can't really edit them from the panel. These two buttons control these two features for both channels as well. So if I'm on the clean channel and I want the boost and the tone on, but when I'm on the lead channel, I just want the boost on, the amp is going to remember whatever settings I had for both channels. Moving along, on our lead channel, we have one gain pot and one volume pot, and then we have a 3-band EQ, bass, middle, and treble. The EQ works the same as these buttons. So if I'm on the lead channel and I want to cut the bass and boost the mids, but on my clean channel, I want to boost the bass and cut the mids, the amp is going to remember whatever EQ setting I had for both channels. After that, we've got our effects. We've got a delay that you can turn on here. Again, you could use the foot switch as well. And I've got the ability to tap tempo using that button right there and just bring in as much delay as I'd like. If I push this button one more time, it's going to go green. And now it's a tremolo. So you actually get two effects in one spot. So that's pretty cool. After that, we've got our reverb. There are 3 different options in the editor, a spring, a hall, and a plate, I believe. Then we've got a presence and a master volume. Then we get to probably the coolest part of this amp. We've got the power amp selector, where we can choose between an emulation of 6 V6 power tubes, 6 L6 power tubes, EL84 power tubes, and EL34 power tubes. And finally, we've got our power control. So we can be at max wattage of 80 watts, super loud, half wattage of, I'm assuming 40 watts, all the way down to half of a watt. And then we can also just put the amp on standby there. Let's take a look at the back side of the Nextone Artist. It comes equipped with a Nextone G12-100 speaker. We've got a USB connection for recording and for hooking it up to the editor. We've got a headphone/recording out and a line out. I'm not entirely sure what the difference is between these two. Maybe one of you guys know and you can let me know in the comments. But either way, you've got the recording out and you've got the line out. Then we have an effects loop, return and send, and a place to hook up the foot switch. If you have the GAFC, you would hook it up right here. All right, so let's move on to the flagship model, shall we? This is the Boss Nextone Special, aka the Big Daddy. This is also an 80 watt amp, technically 88 watts. It has a pine cabinet instead of an MDF cabinet like the Artist did. And as you can see, it's got front mounted controls and a lot more of them. So let's zoom in and look at exactly what we've got going on the front of this amp. As you can see, there's a lot more going on the front panel of the Nextone Special than there was on the top panel of the Nextone Artist. For starters, we've now got independent controls for both the clean channel and the lead channel. No more double duty. Also, a lot of the features that were only available through the editor on the Artist are now available right on the front panel of the amp on the Special. And that's really convenient, especially if you're live, because you don't have to plug the amp into your computer just to change a few small settings. But anyway, let's start over here on the left. We've got our input and our channel select button to switch between the clean and lead channels. On our clean channel, we've got a volume pot and this extra headroom button. So these amps, if you crank up the clean channel, it's going to distort like a tube amp would distort. But if you don't want that to be the case, you can just hit this extra headroom button and it's going to give you extra clean headroom. Very, very cool. So just like the Artist, it does have a tone switch, but it's just kind of crammed over in the corner. Moving along, we've got our tone section. We've got bass, middle, and treble. But we also have the ability to switch between an American tone stack and a British tone stack through the use of those buttons right there. Moving along, we've got our effects section. So rather than just having a button for our boost, we've got the button to turn it on and off, but we can also decide how much of that boost we want with this pot right here. After that, we've got our delay. Again, that turns it on. This button right here is your tap tempo, and this is just the pot to decide how much delay you want. So I did say earlier that there was one small downside to the Nextone Special, and this is what it is. On the Artist, if you click this button one more time, it would turn green and it would switch from a delay to a tremolo. On the Special, that's not an option anymore. If you hit it again, it just turns off. So there is a small workaround where you can get both the tremolo and the delay on the amp at the same time, but you're just not going to be able to do it with this button. We'll talk about that when we get there. But anyway, moving along. Then we've got our reverb. Button turns it on. The pot turns it up or down. Pretty simple stuff. After that, we've got some new features. We've got this custom tune section, right? So we've got our bottom and our top control. These are essentially just high and low pass filters. So when they're all the way to the left like this, they're not doing anything. As you roll them up, they're going to cut the bottom or the top of the frequency spectrum. So if you have a great tone, but maybe it's clashing a little bit with your bass player or it's a little too woofy, you could roll up the bottom control and it would tighten up that low end just a little bit, get some of those ultra low frequencies out of the way. And conversely, if you had a tone that was just a little too shrill way up in those super high frequencies, you could just roll up the top knob and that would cut some of those out. After that, we've got our presence control, just like the Artist, and we've got our output selector where we can choose between 6V6, 6L6, EL84, and EL34 power tube emulation. The last new feature on the Special is that we now have a clean boost solo function for both channels. So whenever you want just a little bit extra volume, you could turn that on, and this knob right here will decide just how much louder it will get while it's on. Beyond that, we've got our master volume and our power control switch that lets us go from standby, half a watt, 20 watts, 40 watts, 60 watts, and a max wattage of 80 watts, or technically 88 watts. And then finally, the last cool feature about the Nextone Special is that we can actually store settings. That's not something we could do on the Artist. If I'm set to panel by clicking that button right there, we're just hearing whatever these knobs are doing in their current state. But we can also save 3 other tones to 1, 2, and 3 here. So that's where the workaround comes for the tremolo. What I would do is I would just save one setting with a delay, and then I would save a second setting with a tremolo, and then if I wanted one or the other, I would just go between setting 1 and setting 2. It's a little bit wonky, but it'll get you there. So that is the front side of the Nextone Special. Moving on to the back of the Nextone Special, the first thing that jumps out at you is this upgraded Wazacraft B12W speaker, and we will mic that up and give it a listen a little bit later on. But we've also got some other options for recording, or even silent recording if you'd like. We've got an XLR output and a 1/4 inch output. with 3 different flavors. We've got Rec, Live, and Blend. The manual suggests to use Rec if you're in the studio, Live if you're live, and Blend is just a blend of the both of them. Then we've got our headphone out / recording out that you could use to record as well, and an effects loop, return and send. Moving on to this side, we've got the 8 ohm output that goes to the internal speaker, and then 2 additional 16 ohm outputs. We've got a USB hookup that hooks you up to the editor or to record as well, and then some additional foot switch connections and a MIDI in. All right, so let's check out some tones, dude. What I'm gonna do is set all the controls to noon on both amps to keep it fair. Then I'm gonna mic them up and see if we can hear a difference between the speakers. After that, we're gonna record the line out signal from both amps and see if some of the extra features that we get on the special are worth having. So there you have it. That was the Nextone Artist versus the Nextone Special. Let me know in the comments which one you like better. But now it's time for the big question. Do I think that it's worth shelling out the extra cash to go top of the line and get the Nextone Special? For me, it's a super easy answer. All the way, yes. I absolutely think it's worth it. At the time of filming this video, you can get the Nextone Artist for about $780, and you can get the Nextone Special for about $870. So for less than $100 more, you're getting independent controls for both channels. You're getting tactile controls for a bunch of features that otherwise you'd need to use the editor for. You're getting an upgraded speaker. You're getting a Pine cabinet. You're getting more options for direct recording. All in all, I think it's definitely worth the extra money. You let me know what you think in the comments though. By the way, before you go, if you like this video, take a second and subscribe to the channel. Hit the like button, hit the little bell icon thing. Apparently it helps the channel a lot. I don't really know yet, but we're gonna find out the more you that click those buttons. So click those buttons, please. Appreciate you. Love you. Bye.